This is my 2025 Ducati Panigale V4,
also known as the Glucati or Toothless.
A lot of y'all know this bike because I crashed it twice in 1 week. So here's 3 things you need to know if you ride a sport bike or if you're gonna take one of these to the track. The first and probably most important thing is getting the suspension and geometry set up for you. There's a longer form version of the suspension setup of this bike with my buddy Dave Moss, but I'm gonna explain it a little simpler. So basically you want your front forks to be a little bit softer than the rear shock. Dave says it's a sport bike and not a Harley, so a sport bike has to be set up the way it's gonna be ridden. Now on my initial setup, my rear end was rebounding way too fast. As we all know, when we let go of the throttle, the front end will dip due to engine braking, and obviously if you're braking into the corner, adding more force to the forks. But because my rear end was rebounding so quick, the bike was sending me forward right before the corner where you're supposed to do all your braking. Now conversely, the front end was way too soft, meaning my forks were bottoming out, and that combination of too quick of a rebound plus a really soft setting on the forks sent a lot of that energy directly to my tires. Now, I can't say for sure if that was a direct result of my crashes, but I can say that was a part of it. Now the other thing he taught me that also made a lot of sense is the fact that people don't service their suspension enough. Most people who take care of their bikes change their oil every 3,000 miles, but those same people have never done a dump and fill on their shock oil. At the end of the day, shock oil is still oil. The oil's viscosity is subject to degrading over time and use, and you should service your suspension on a regular basis. Now another important thing he wanted me to let you all know is once you get your suspension set up for you, because oil degrades, you're going to want to tighten that suspension ever so slightly every few thousand miles or every few track days. He told me to think about suspension settings like a faucet. Now because oil will lose its viscosity over time, oil will start to run like water, and gradually you're going to want to close that faucet to keep the flow constant. You may have to replay this video a few times for it to make sense, or again you can watch the long form video on YouTube. The last 2 things I want to go over quickly, which is geometry and skill level. It's important that when you're sitting on the bike, even when it's static, you want to be as comfortable as possible. For example, you don't want a huge tank cover pushing you back and you end up reaching for the clip-ons. It puts a lot of tension on your body, and that tension is directed into your bike and your riding. The final thing is skill. If you're only doing track days, it's still important to ride under your maximum skill level. A lot of noobs like myself who end up doing a lot of track days try to chase faster lap times, but the way Dave explained this to me is you want to ride at about 75 to 80% and move that 75 to 80% higher and higher each time. I used to think riding under your limit was just for street riding, but it only makes sense that it applies to track riding too. I hope this helps some of you squids, and again, if you want the longer form version of the setup, go check it out on YouTube.
You'll be so much more comfortable and riding will be so much easier.
He fixed me.